There are lines you don't cross in a family. I kept their secrets. I never judged their choices. I never ever touched their kids. But when they held down my daughter and cut off her hair to punish me, they lit a fire I can't put out. I'm not here to ask for sympathy. I'm not here to justify what I did next. I'm just here to tell you the truth about what happens when a mother who's been silent her whole life finally finds her voice. And let me tell you, when that voice came out, it didn't whisper. It roared. Tell me in the comments what city you're watching from. Have you ever felt invisible in your own family? Like, no matter what you did, you were always the one who was wrong, always the one who needed to apologize, always the one who should have known better. Now, let me tell you what happened the day everything fell apart. It was my niece Madison's 10th birthday party, July 15th. I remember the date because it's burned into my memory like a scar that won't fade. The party was at my parents' house, the same house I grew up in, the same house where I learned to make myself small, to not take up too much space, to never outshine my older sister Rachel. My daughter Lily and I arrived 15 minutes early because my mother had texted me the night before. Don't be late and make sure Lily's dressed appropriately. This is Madison's day. Appropriately. That word should have been my first warning. Lily was wearing a yellow sundress with little daisies on it. Her hair, God, her beautiful hair, fell in natural waves down to the middle of her back. She'd been growing it out for 3 years, ever since she was 7, and decided she wanted to look like Rapunzel. That morning, she'd asked me to braid it with yellow ribbons to match her dress. Do I look pretty, Mom? She'd asked, twirling in front of the mirror. You look like sunshine, I'd told her, and she did. When we walked into my parents' backyard, I felt it immediately, that shift in the air, that tension that comes right before a storm. My mother was standing by the cake table, her lips pressed into that thin line I knew so well. My sister Rachel was beside her, and they were both staring at Lily. Madison was sitting in a chair, getting her hair curled by my aunt. Her hair was thin, barely reaching her shoulders. She'd cut it short a few months ago in what Rachel called a rebellious phase. Next to my daughter's flowing waves, the difference was noticeable. Well, my mother said, her voice dripping with that fake sweetness she'd perfected over 60 years. Someone certainly dressed to impress. I forced a smile. It's just a sundress, Mom. And the hair? Rachel cut in. Did you really need to do all that? The ribbons? Really? Lily wanted, Rachel mimicked. You know, not everything is about what Lily wants. Some of us are trying to raise children who understand they're not the center of the universe. I bit my tongue. I'd learned long ago that defending myself in this family was like trying to bail water from a sinking ship with my bare hands. No matter how hard I tried, I always ended up drowning. The party started at noon. By 12:30, I could feel the hostility radiating from every corner of that backyard. Every time Lily laughed, and she had such a beautiful laugh, like wind chimes, Rachel would glare. Every time one of the other kids complimented Lily's dress or her hair, my mother would make some passive-aggressive comment about attention-seeking behavior. At one point, Madison's friend Emma asked Lily if she could touch her hair. It's so soft, Emma had said. Like a princess. Madison's face crumpled. She ran inside crying. Rachel turned on me like I'd personally orchestrated this moment. Are you happy now? You couldn't let her have one day? Lily didn't do anything. She doesn't have to do anything. You've raised her to think she's special, to think she's better than everyone else. That's not. Just like you always thought you were better than me. There it was. The real issue. It was never about the kids. It was about us. About the fact that I'd gone to college when Rachel dropped out. About the fact that I'd moved away for 5 years while she stayed home. About the fact that I'd had a daughter who reminded them of everything they thought I'd stolen from them by simply existing. I need you to understand something about my family. We weren't poor, but we weren't rich either. My father worked at the paper mill for 37 years. My mother was a substitute teacher who spent more time gossiping about other people's children than teaching them. We lived in a small town in Ohio where everyone knew everyone, and reputation was currency. Rachel was the firstborn, the golden child, the one who was supposed to be everything, beautiful, talented, successful, and for a while she was. She was the homecoming queen, dated the quarterback, had her whole life mapped out. Then she got pregnant at 19, the boyfriend disappeared, and suddenly all those plans crumbled. I was 4 years younger, quiet, bookish, invisible. I wasn't supposed to amount to anything, and for most of my childhood, I didn't. I stayed in my room, read my books, made myself as small as possible, but then I got a scholarship to Ohio State, and everything changed. The day I got my acceptance letter, my mother said, "Don't get too big for your britches. You're still a Wells girl, and Wells girls don't forget where they come from." But I did forget. Or at least, I tried to. I spent 5 years in Columbus, then 3 more in Chicago working for a marketing firm. I fell in love with a man named David who saw me, really saw me, for the first time in my life. We got married in a small ceremony that my family barely attended. Rachel was 7 months pregnant with Madison and spent the entire reception telling people how some of us have real responsibilities. When I got pregnant with Lily, David and I were living in a beautiful apartment overlooking Lake Michigan. We were happy. God, we were so happy. Then David died in a car accident when I was 8 months pregnant. I'm not going to dwell on that pain. You can imagine it. The kind of grief that makes you forget how to breathe. The kind that makes you wonder how you're supposed to bring a child into a world that can take someone away so suddenly, so senselessly. I moved back to Ohio when Lily was 3 months old. Not because I wanted to, but because I needed help. And family is supposed to be there when you need help, right? From the moment I moved back, it was clear that nothing had changed. I was still the younger sister who'd gotten too big for her britches. Only now I was the younger sister who'd thought she was too good for us and had to come crawling back. And Lily was the physical reminder of the life I'd built without them. Rachel's daughter Madison was 3 when we moved back. She was a sweet kid, but shy, anxious, always looking to her mother for approval. Rachel hovered over her constantly, micromanaging every moment of her life. Madison doesn't like loud noises. Madison needs her special cup. Madison can't handle too much stimulation. Lily was different. Even as a baby, she was curious about everything, always reaching for something new, always smiling at strangers. As she grew, she became this bright, confident little person who made friends everywhere she went. She wasn't trying to outshine anyone, she was just being herself. But in my family, being yourself was a crime if yourself was anything more than what they expected you to be. The comparisons started immediately. Lily's walking already? Madison didn't walk until 15 months. Every child develops at their own pace. Lily knows her letters? Well, Madison is more focused on emotional intelligence. Lily made the honor roll. Academic achievement isn't everything. Every accomplishment of Lily's was met with an excuse for Madison. Every smile Lily received was seen as a slight against Rachel's daughter, and somehow it was always my fault. I was pushing Lily. I was making everything a competition. I was trying to prove something. The truth? I was just trying to raise my daughter, to give her the childhood I never had, one where she could be herself without apology, where she could shine without being told to dim her light. But in my family, that was the greatest sin of all. The birthday party was supposed to be simple. Pool party in the backyard, barbecue, cake. I'd offered to help with preparations, but Rachel had said, "We've got it handled. Just show up." So we showed up. By 1 p.m., the tension was unbearable. The other kids were playing in the pool, but Lily kept getting excluded from games. I watched Madison whisper to her friends, watched them turn their backs when Lily tried to join in. When I mentioned it to Rachel, she said, maybe if Lily wasn't so pushy, the other kids would want to play with her. Pushy. My 10-year-old daughter who'd asked 3 times if she could join Marco Polo was pushy. I suggested maybe it was time for us to leave. That's when my mother stepped in. "You're not going anywhere," she said, her voice low so the other parents wouldn't hear. "You're going to stay and you're going to watch Madison open her presents, and you're going to eat cake, and you're going to pretend to be a part of this family for once in your life." Mom, Lily's upset. Lily's upset because you've taught her to expect the world to revolve around her. Maybe it's time she learned it doesn't. That's when I saw Rachel and my father heading inside with Madison. They were whispering, Madison was nodding, and something in my gut twisted. That instinct mothers have when something's about to go wrong. "Lily?" I called out. "Come here, sweetheart." But my mother's hand clamped down on my wrist. "Let the kids work it out themselves," she said. "Stop helicoptering." Lily had climbed out of the pool and was drying off. Madison approached her, all smiles now. "Want to see something cool in my room?" she asked. Lily's face lit up. Finally, her cousin wanted to play with her. Sure. They disappeared inside. My mother's grip on my wrist loosened, but she didn't let go entirely. See? She said. They're fine. You worry too much. 5 minutes passed, then 10. I tried to stand up, but my mother pulled me back down. Give them space, she insisted. That's when I heard it, a sound that will haunt me for the rest of my life. Lily screaming. I ripped my arm away from my mother and ran toward the house. Other parents were looking up, concerned, but my mother called out, "Kids will be kids, probably just a game." But I knew my daughter's screams. I knew the difference between playful shrieking and terror. And this was terror. I burst through the back door and followed the sound upstairs. The bathroom door was closed, but I could hear multiple voices inside. Lily crying, Madison talking, and then Rachel's voice, sharp and commanding, "Hold still. Stop being such a baby." I tried the door. Locked. "Open this door right now! Go away!" Rachel shouted back. "We're handling it." Handling what? I slammed my shoulder against the door, but it didn't budge. That's when I heard it, the unmistakable sound of scissors cutting through hair. "Open this door now!" My father appeared at the top of the stairs. "What's all the commotion?" "They've locked Lily in there. They're doing something to her." He had the key. Of course he did. He'd installed those locks himself years ago, but instead of opening the door, he stood there, blocking my way. "Dad, move! They're just giving her a trim," he said calmly. "She was making Madison feel bad. This is for the best." "A trim? She's screaming. She's being dramatic. Just like you always were." I shoved past him harder than I'd ever pushed anyone in my life, and he stumbled backward. The key fell from his pocket, and I grabbed it, jamming it into the lock. The door swung open, and what I saw, God, what I saw! Lily was on the floor, my sister kneeling on her legs to keep her still. Madison was holding Lily's arms behind her back, and my mother, my own mother, had a pair of scissors in her hand and was hacking away at my daughter's beautiful hair. It wasn't even a haircut, it was butchery. Chunks of different lengths, some parts nearly down to the scalp. Lily's face was red and swollen from crying, snot running down her nose, her yellow dress covered in her fallen hair. "What have you done?" My mother stood up, still holding the scissors, completely calm. "We've evened the playing field. Now Madison won't feel so bad about her hair." I lunged forward and grabbed Lily, pulling her away from them. She buried her face in my chest, her whole body shaking. They held me down, Mommy," I said. "No," I said, "stop." But they wouldn't stop. Rachel stood up, brushing hair off her jeans like it was nothing. "Oh, please." We gave her a haircut. "Stop acting like we committed a crime." "You assaulted her. You held her down." "Assault?" My mother laughed. "It's hair. It grows back. And maybe next time you'll think twice before trying to upstage Madison at her own party. She's 10 years old, and she needs to learn that the world doesn't revolve around her," my father said from the doorway. "You never learned that lesson. Maybe it's not too late for her." I looked at each of their faces, my mother's self-satisfied smirk, Rachel's defiant glare, my father's cold indifference, and Madison was smiling, 10 years old and smiling at another child's pain. "We're leaving," I said, carrying Lily toward the door. "Don't make a scene," my mother called after me. "The other parents are here. Don't embarrass yourself. Tell me, have you ever had a moment where you saw your family, really saw them, for who they were? Not who you hoped they'd be, not who you pretended they were, but who they actually were. Because in that moment, covered in my daughter's tears and severed hair, I saw them, and they were monsters. But I didn't make a scene. Not then. I walked down those stairs, through that house, past all those parents in the backyard who stared at us, at Lily's butchered hair, at her hysterical crying, at my shaking hands, and I didn't say a word. My mother was right behind me. "You're overreacting," she hissed. As usual, I buckled Lily into the car, still silent. "This is what you get," Rachel said, appearing at my window, "for always thinking you're better than us." I started the engine. My father knocked on the glass. "You walk away now. Don't bother coming back." I looked him straight in the eye. "Watch me." And I drove away. But I wasn't running. Oh no, I was planning. Because they'd finally done it. They'd finally crossed the one line I'd drawn in the sand of our dysfunctional family. They'd touched my child. They'd hurt her to hurt me. They'd held her down and violated her bodily autonomy to teach me a lesson. My mother had said, "Don't make a scene." Fine. I wouldn't make a scene. I'd make a reckoning. I took Lily straight to the emergency room. Not for the hair, for documentation. The nurse's face went pale when she saw the state of my daughter's head, the finger marks on her arms where they'd held her down, the scratches on her legs from trying to get away. "Who did this?" she asked gently. "My family," I said, "at a birthday party." She called in a social worker, then a police officer. They took photographs. They took Lily's statement, every heartbreaking word of it. How Grandma had said she was too pretty for her own good. How Aunt Rachel had said she needed to be taken down a peg. How Cousin Madison had laughed while holding her arms. How Grandpa had stood in the doorway and watched. The officer, a woman named Detective Marsh, sat with me while Lily was with the child psychologist. "This is assault," she said plainly. "On a minor, you can press charges. They're my family. They're criminals who traumatized your child." But I wasn't ready, not yet, because pressing charges was just the beginning. I wanted more than jail time or restraining orders. I wanted them to feel what Lily felt, powerless, humiliated, betrayed by the people who were supposed to protect them. We went home that night to 23 missed calls, 16 from my mother, 7 from Rachel. The voicemail started concerned. "Where are you?" Lily forgot her pool bag. Then angry. "You're being ridiculous. Call me back." Then threatening, "If you don't answer, I'm calling the police and reporting you for kidnapping." Kidnapping. My own child. I didn't respond. Instead, I did something else. I went on Facebook, that digital town square where my family lived their performative lives. Rachel had already posted photos from the party. Madison's magical 10th birthday. So blessed to have family and friends celebrate our special girl. Every photo was carefully curated. Madison in her birthday tiara, the professionally decorated cake, the pool full of laughing children, not a single photo of what happened after. Not a single mention of Lily. But the comments told a different story. Where did Lily and her mom go? They left so suddenly. Is Lily okay? She seemed upset. Why was Lily crying? Rachel's response. Some kids just can't handle not being the center of attention. That's when I decided to break my silence. Not with a phone call, not with a confrontation, with the truth. I created my own post. No dramatics, just facts. Today at my niece's birthday party, my mother, father, and sister held my 10-year-old daughter down and forcibly cut her hair while she screamed for help. When I tried to stop them, my father physically blocked me. This was their way of ensuring she didn't outshine the birthday girl. We are safe now. We have filed a police report. I'm sharing this because silence is what allows abuse to continue. And yes, what they did was abuse. I attached one photo, the one the hospital had taken for their records. Lily's destroyed hair, the red marks on her arms, her tear-stained face. Then I tagged every single person who'd been at that party. Within an hour, my phone exploded. But I wasn't looking at it. I was holding my daughter while she slept, running my fingers through what was left of her hair, and making a promise this would never happen again. The next morning, I found something that changed everything. I'd gone back to the house while they were at church. Yes, they went to church every Sunday, praising Jesus while destroying children Monday through Saturday. I still had my key. I wasn't there to take anything that wasn't mine. I just wanted Lily's overnight bag, the one she kept there for sleepovers that would never happen again. But while I was in the basement looking for it, I found something else. A box marked legal documents in my mother's perfect handwriting. Curiosity got the better of me. Inside were wills, insurance papers, birth certificates, and then at the bottom, a folder marked with my name. Inside were documents I'd never seen before, letters from a lawyer, bank statements, and a copy of a will I didn't recognize. My grandmother's will, my father's mother, who died when I was in Chicago. According to what my parents had told me, she'd left everything to charity. She'd been disappointed in the family, they said, especially in me for moving away. "She died thinking you abandoned us," my mother had said at the funeral. "I hope you can live with that." But this will told a different story. My grandmother had left me money, a lot of money, $78,000, specifically set aside for my granddaughter, who had the courage to leave and make something of herself. The check had been cashed. The account it went into had my mother's name on it. They'd stolen from me. They'd used my grandmother's death and my grief to steal money she'd specifically wanted me to have, money that could have changed everything when David died. Money that could have meant I didn't have to come crawling back to them. I took photos of everything. Every page, every bank statement, every forged signature. They'd held down my daughter and butchered her hair, but that was just the latest cruelty. The real crime was older, deeper. They'd deliberately kept me dependent on them. They'd stolen my freedom and then blamed me for needing their help. I sat in that basement, surrounded by evidence of their betrayal, and I laughed. Actually laughed, because my mother had been right about one thing: I shouldn't make a scene. I should make history. By the time I got home, the Facebook post had been shared 200 times. Small town news travels fast, and by Sunday evening, everyone in our town knew what had happened at Madison's birthday party. The first person to crack was my father. He showed up at my apartment at 9 p.m., pounding on the door. "Open up! We need to talk about this ridiculous stunt you're pulling." I called through the door. "I have nothing to say to you. You're destroying this family over a haircut." "No, Dad. You destroyed this family when you decided my daughter was acceptable collateral damage in whatever sick game you're playing. Open this door, or You'll what? Break it down? Please do. I have the police on speed dial, and I'm sure they'd love to add breaking and entering to assault of a minor." He left, but not before screaming loud enough for the neighbors to hear, "You always were an ungrateful bitch." The neighbors heard. All right, Mrs. Patterson from 3B came by an hour later with cookies and a hug. "I saw your post," she said. "I'm so sorry. Is Lily okay?" By Monday morning, my mother had tried a different approach. She'd gone to her church friends, spinning a tale of her mentally unstable daughter who was having another breakdown, and making wild accusations. She'd even convinced the pastor to call me. "Your mother is concerned about you," Pastor Williams said. "She thinks you might need help. Spiritual guidance. Did she tell you she held down a 10-year-old and forcibly cut her hair?" "She said there was a disagreement about grooming standards." "I have photos. I have a police report. I have hospital documentation. Would you like to see them?" He hung up, but the real showdown came Tuesday morning. I just dropped Lily off at my friend Sarah's house. She wasn't ready for school yet, not with her hair like that, when I saw them. All three of them, standing in my apartment parking lot like some twisted welcoming committee. My mother stepped forward, using her teacher voice. "We need to discuss this like adults." "No, you're being ridiculous. It was just hair, and Grandma's money was just paper, right?" She froze. Behind her, Rachel and my father exchanged glances. "I don't know what you're talking about," my mother said, but her voice had changed. $78,000. That's what Grandma left me. The money you told me didn't exist. The money you stole. You have no proof. I have copies of everything. The will, the forged signatures, the bank records. Did you really think I'd never find out?" Rachel stepped forward. "You abandoned us. You ran off to your perfect life and left us here. That money was compensation." "Compensation? For what? For being born? For existing? For having the audacity to want something more than this toxic cesspool you call a family? How dare you?" "No, Rachel. How dare you? How dare you hold down a child, and hurt her because you're jealous? How dare you raise your daughter to think cruelty is acceptable? How dare you stand there and act like you're the victim?" My father, who'd been silent, finally spoke. "What do you want?" "I want you to leave us alone. Forever. And if we don't..." I pulled out my phone and showed them the email I drafted to the district attorney. The subject line read, "Evidence of fraud, forgery, and theft." Attached were all the documents I'd found. "The statute of limitations hasn't run out," I said calmly. "Fraud, forgery, and theft of this amount? That's prison time. Real prison time." My mother's face went white. We're your family." "No, family doesn't do what you did. Family doesn't steal. Family doesn't hurt children. Family doesn't hold people down and take away their autonomy. You're not my family. You're just people I'm unfortunately related to." "Please," my mother said. And for the first time in my life, she looked small. "The whole town is talking. We can't go anywhere without people staring. Madison's being bullied at school. This is ruining our lives." Good. That single word hung in the air between us. Good. Their lives were ruined? Good. They were facing consequences? Good. They were feeling a fraction of the pain they'd caused? Good. "You have two choices," I said. "Sign a confession about what you did to Lily, admit to the assault, stay away from us forever. Or I send this email and let the courts sort out the fraud charges." "That's blackmail." Rachel shrieked. No, it's justice. The same justice you taught me didn't exist in this family. They signed the confession. Right there in the parking lot, using the hood of my father's truck as a desk. Each of them admitted in writing to assaulting Lily. Each of them agreed to stay 500 feet away from us at all times. But my mother had one last card to play. As she handed me the signed confession, she said, "You'll regret this. When you're old and alone, when Lily grows up and leaves you just like you left us, you'll regret this." I looked her straight in the eye. No, Mom, the only thing I regret is not doing this sooner. They left that day, but the story doesn't end there. Because Wednesday morning, when I thought it was over, when I thought we were finally free, Rachel did something I didn't expect. She posted her own version of events on Facebook. A long rambling post about how I'd always been jealous of her, how I'd manipulated the situation, how Lily had asked for a haircut and was being coached to lie. She even posted old family photos, carefully selected to show her as the devoted sister and me as the distant one. Photos from Christmas where I looked tired because I'd driven 6 hours with a baby to be there. Photos from Madison's previous birthdays where I wasn't smiling because they'd spent the entire party criticizing my parenting. The comments started pouring in. Some people believed her. Others were skeptical. The town divided into camps. Team Rachel and Team me. It was exactly the kind of drama our small town lived for. But then something beautiful happened. Mrs. Chen from the party came forward. She'd taken a video, not of the assault that happened inside, but of the aftermath, of me carrying Lily out, her hair destroyed, her face traumatized, of my mother following me, hissing, "You're overreacting," of Rachel saying I deserved it. She posted it in the comments of Rachel's post with just 4 words, "The camera doesn't lie." Within hours, Rachel's support evaporated. The people who'd been on her side, who'd believed her version, saw the truth. They saw Lily's devastation. They heard my family's cruel words. Rachel deleted the post. Then she deleted her Facebook. Then, according to the gossip mill, she pulled Madison out of school to homeschool her. My parents' house, which had been the hub of every family gathering, every holiday, every celebration for 40 years, became a tomb. No one visited. No one called. They'd become pariahs in the town they'd lived in their whole lives. It's been 6 months now. Lily's hair is growing back, slowly but surely. We ended up moving to Columbus. Fresh start, new school, new life. She's in therapy, working through what happened, learning that what they did to her wasn't her fault, wasn't normal, wasn't love. Some nights, she still has nightmares. Some days, she won't let me brush her hair. The trauma they inflicted in those 10 minutes will take years to fully heal, but she's healing. We both are. Last week, she performed in her school talent show. She sang, something she never would have done before, too afraid of showing off. When she finished, the auditorium erupted in applause, and she looked at me with such joy, such freedom. That's when I knew we'd won. Not because my family was suffering, though I'd be lying if I said that didn't bring some satisfaction, but because Lily was learning the lesson I'd taken 40 years to understand. You don't have to make yourself small to make others feel big. I got a letter from my mother last month, forwarded through my lawyer because she's not allowed to contact me directly. It was long, full of justifications and accusations, but at the end, almost like an afterthought, she wrote, "I'm sorry for what we took from you. Not for what they did, for what they took. Because that's all they knew how to do. Take money, take dignity, take joy, take innocence." But here's what they didn't understand. You can cut a girl's hair, but you can't cut her spirit. You can steal money, but you can't steal strength. You can try to dim someone's light, but if they're brave enough, if they're supported enough, if they're loved enough, they'll shine anyway. My mother was right about one thing, though. I didn't make a scene. I made a choice. A choice to protect my daughter. A choice to break the cycle. A choice to speak the truth, even when my voice shook. And that choice? It changed everything. They thought they were teaching Lily a lesson about not outshining others. Instead, they taught her the most valuable lesson of all. When someone tries to cut you down to their size, you don't shrink. You rise. And you never ever apologize for the space you take up in this world.